The running back position in the OFL has once upon a time played a huge part in how the league functioned, with players such as Fruit King, who won the award 5 times. But as the league went ahead and has to continue growing, pretty much the value of the running back position has pretty much increasingly went ahead and lost its value. As legit so many great players basically transitioning over to really a pass heavy offense and favoring the dual threat quarterback. So today we're going to look at pretty much the rise and fall of dual threat QBs. Well, not dual threat QBs, really specifically. More specifically, the running back position, and how something that legit anyone could play just became something that no one really talks about anymore. Hello, everybody. My name is Chaostopia. This is the Bronx and Pelicans podcast. What happened to OFL running backs? And without further ado, let's get into this. So, like you guys can see here, this is basically was a play made by Fruit King. If you don't basically know who Fruit is, Fruit basically he's played an important part, and really the league being, and really the running back position. Matter of fact, so many players in the OFL, and I think 90% of the OFL community puts Fruit King as the best running back of all time. And understandably so, if you look at it. He went ahead and he pretty much turned something so crazy, or something so simple, into something so electric. Everyone wanted to be like Fruit King. And it was completely noticeable. As a matter of fact, in the season that the running back of the year award was activated, Fruit King won it 5 times. Winning it during his epic run in season 5 with the Corn Spartans, where he scored a league record 16 rushing touchdowns. That might not sound a lot to you, but in like a 7-game season or whatever it was back then, it was a lot. And the crazy part about this record is that it still has not been broken to this day. No one has been able to broken it ever. What I just showed you basically was highlights from his second running back of the year campaign, which was with season 10 for the Berkshire Rattlers, and on that team, he had ejected at QB. So of course, he'll also win running back again in season 13 for the Ducks, and they got close to the Victory Bowl. They ultimately lost to the eventual conference champion Spartans. In season 10, when he had that running back of the year campaign, the Rattlers made the playoffs undefeated, only to lose to the Florida Firecats as the desperation Hail Mary attempt was intercepted. And in season 5, when he did play running back of the year and had that noble run, he went ahead and he made it to the Victory Bowl with the Spartans, despite ultimately going ahead and coming up short and losing to the Rockford Raptors. And he still continued being dominant here, as in season 14, he was a back-to-back running back of the year. And really took the idea of just of legit of mixing players to a whole different level. No one could really compare to his accolades or how good he was. Matter of fact, you can talk about basically about one infamous play in OFL history that I would show basically, but due to basically just a few of the things, I'm not really going to. But nevertheless, there was one such time that he went ahead and he made a ridiculous 2-point conversion all by himself. And you heard me right there, all by himself, without the help of legit of any wide receiver or anything like that. He just legit pretty much just did it all by himself, and really was just chaos on a different level. But while you can consider him the greatest running back of all time, there were basically some other instances. The next person I'm going to basically show y'all is a running back that was competition in his prime, and that of course is Benny Football. What makes Benny basically, while he unlike Froome, Benny basically he really kept the position alive. And really, he dominates so much that legit in his first season in the OFL, as a pure rookie, he won running back of the year. En route to also winning rookie of the year. And if you think basically he was that this is just beginner's luck, think again. Because Bane would go ahead and basically will go on to have an insane amount of success, even becoming a back-to-back running back of the year in only his first 2 seasons in the league. He legit was so patient with blocks, so elusive, and he legit was hard to stop. Like legit, people could pretty much game plan around him, because that's how good he was as a running back. He really was just able to get down the field in just quick timing. Even if it was 10 to 15 yards, he just showed basically how incredible he was in his prime. As in, really, no one could really compare to him. Now, despite him being a really good running back, after season 9, while he's still been serviceable, he sort of went ahead and he took a 180 dive event. But nevertheless, he was just so dominant as a running back that you could legit game plan around him, like Froob. My next running back I'm going to talk about is legit an example of pretty much that, although he basically is more known on the defensive side of the ball, he still was really crazy. And that, of course, is Kill Ninjas 123. And for Kill, he's basically has been relatively known, like on the defensive side of the ball, being known as a Hall of Fame corner. But he had some epic runs as a running back too, being really great as a pass catcher, and also even running it himself. Now, there's been some times he even took over pretty much as the backup on an occasion, and really kept it and really played really good. He was just pretty much, he was a serviceable player that can play any position, but with running back as the one he was, it wasn't hard to understand why he basically still played so dominant. But no, and he did, while he has gotten basically a running back of the year, you've also seen some highlights known on defense. And to be fair, Kill Ninjas basically was more known, really, as one of the, as is why, and is widely regarded as one of the best corners in the game. Matter of fact, he is a 4-time cornerback of the year and a 6-time defensive player of the year. His earliest one going as back to season 9, and his latest one in season 24. Kill Ninjas has been consistent in his career. And at running back, it's no exception. The next guy I'm gonna go and basically we're gonna have to show you is probably gonna be the last example I'm gonna really use in this video, and we're gonna make some honorable mentions too. And that, of course, will be none other than one of the most electric running backs that you might have heard from, and perhaps really the only running back that really did any really crazy POVs and all that stuff. And that would be this guy right here. You guys probably may have recognized him, but this, of course, would be Gorton. Now, Gorton, once again, pretty much was a really crazy running back. But before go on to this epic reel, let's go back basically a few seasons to season 10. Here, Gordon was getting his feet down and set as an official running back, being pretty much on the Florida Firecats, led by Mac ATL. As he really just took the idea of just breaking ankles and all that stuff to a different level. But he also took pride in also playing defense as well. Even being a running back of the year. So here basically is some prime examples. This is basically from season 10. And during that season, he also got to play, he also was on a team with fellow running back Fresh ATL, but Fresh didn't really play running back all like that season. To be honest with you, none of them really did. When it was just more of a season that it was pass happy, a preview to a bit of the modern day OFL. Nevertheless, that still hasn't stopped Gorton from having some really epic highlights. Like this touchdown you guys just saw here. He went ahead and he made it. He made it to victory in season 10. He made it to the Victory Bowl, playing for the Florida Firecats before eventually losing to the Rams dynasty in heartbreaking fashion. A int by Lord Jallis with less than a minute remaining in the fourth quarter on a potential game-winning drive. But that didn't stop him from trying again. And season 11, if you can tell by he came back fired. Despite wearing 3 different jerseys, he still just stayed all around consistent. His first stop was, of course, Buffalo, the Bolts. But during that first part of that stretch, he also got to play with running back of the year at that time, Fruit King. Which Fruit King basically wasn't as active in those seasons as you expect. But he was still pretty much, nevertheless, a very effective playmaker. Here's another example here. He pretty much took and made sure he was willing to take your ankles and make some crazy interceptions. And also go ahead and make you look and put you on a legit island of you're screwed. While he did not play basically the entire season, the Bolts, his next stop came up basically right here. Which ended up being basically his return to the Firecats. On the Firecats, he still looked as cool and as fresh as ever. Still showing that pretty much that he was, without a doubt, the best running back at that time. We didn't get to see more of Gordon really with the Firecats for that season, but it doesn't matter because his next stop would end up joining the Rams dynasty in its final season. In addition to basically being a great running back for the Rams, he also showed his case as a great corner. But still toying with the defenders. Amazing enough, though, that for both seasons that I've shown so far, he didn't win running back at all. Even with Fruit King getting the abstract running back of the year, season 11, he went ahead and he lost running back of the year to Egberts, which was a release for Egg, as he basically was dealing with pretty much an award curse himself, not really being able to win an award. I mean, outside of his buddies Oathkeeper and Bunglius, you could say Eggs was the odd man out. Well, Egg and Xavier, who the season Xavier would go ahead and he would end up winning tight end of the year. But nevertheless, he still went ahead and he pretty much put people on a level of chaos unlike any other. And with it, the Rams also went ahead and made the victory bowl that season. But like season 10, they came up short, and this time it was a last second touchdown to Hilo Bowl in the Panthers. And also the aforementioned Kill Ninjas, if I want to talk about anything. He and while eventually the ring curse for Gordon ended in season 13, helping the Snowhawks and Shining Checks, helping Shining to win his second ring at QB, and actually finally clinching his first ring himself. He still was without a running back of the year. That changed in season 17, and he won his first running back of the year with the Sunbirds and Frankie 264. But the crazy part is that he would win it back to back, winning it for the second time with the Sunbirds, and really taking off. And after two seasons of not winning it, in season 19 and season 20, where Fruit got it, and also Weshin, another basically talented running back that no one really gives credit to. Gordon went ahead and he made his return to relevancy, really capturing chaos on a different level in itself. This time, in the modern day OFL scripts, Gordon still played electric. As he pretty much had shown, he was legitimately one of the best, and he was willing to go ahead and still put you on islands, put you in tough situations. And like Fruit King and Vanny Football, he was also somewhere good to game plan around, as Sean H. X was able to figure out and was able to use a running back. For the first time in a bit. But nevertheless, even with basically being on teams with players such as Lord J, Sento, Xavier, Blumau, he still basically showed that he basically was an X factor, putting people on islands. Heck, you can say, but you could argue that running backs really try-harded and use Gordon's highlights as basically as an example. But if you ask me, do know basically what the hell he was doing. And without a doubt, he was just pretty much one of the more better backs to ever do it. With the running back position basically being relevant up to season 21, this answers the question. This asks the question: were there any more running backs besides those people I mentioned? Well, there was a few in that situation. Willie Doomstep needs basically hadn't had a good season at running back in season 4. Form Evolution was electric in season 7. In addition to guys such as Finesting, Fresh ATL, Weshin, and Sunok, the running back of the year basically was helped weighted by pretty much how many rushing touchdowns a running back could get, and also if they were also effective in the receiving game. But still, that doesn't answer the whole question of why did running back of the year just fell off a cliff? And that would basically come with the answer as we enter season 28. That season, Trippy Elds went ahead and won running back of the year, and while despite being more of a satellite back and really being a receiving back, nevertheless, he still went ahead and really went off and got in a lot of rushing touchdowns. In addition, the league basically already over the seasons with people like Ejected and Kelvin and all that stuff, they each went ahead and they pretty much all focused on one thing, and that was the passing game. Heck, even a lot of Sean HCX teams, they focused a bit on that passing game too. As really, passing was pretty much was one of a lot of key ways to go. In addition to really the passing game, though, outside of that, there wasn't really much people that were willing to really running back in the league these days. As we see more and more and more wide receivers and tight end, well, more wide receivers and defensive backs. No one really came to the idea that running back was really something that existed. Eventually, the Root just grew less and less of running backs. But nevertheless, it just felt like the same old people were going ahead and winning it. I mean, when you look at basically from season 20 to season 28, it really was just pretty much former. It was basically already veteran backs, but that basically went ahead and had to go up and over. Like Suno, Gweshin, and Gordon. The only running back really out of those two that really you can say had a legit running back of the year campaign, besides really Elds, was season 23 when Austin Ayuki won it for the Florida Firecats. And Parker at that time, he already basically was trying to at least make his name known. Nevertheless, the running back position was legit undermined. With no one really to openly and willingly play the position, you already know basically was taking a nosedive. And with the rise of the dual threat quarterback, it also went ahead, and there was also another issue that came with it. As running backs, really, they were predictable. You can tell if it was running back in the backfield, you can tell if there was basically was a run or not. And if there was a run, then rush offenses basically became keen. Usually, will like to key in on stopping the run. If that was your game plan around him, unless you have good blockers, you pretty much were in a situation where you couldn't really do it. You couldn't really go ahead and really, succeed. And without going ahead and the ability to succeed, really, that it just pretty much legit made the idea of the running back position just kind of dead. It's more better to go ahead and basically go with pretty much an offense that favored a dual threat quarterback. If you had a dual threat quarterback, you can tell basically whether a run was predictable. Well, it was unpredictable. Like you couldn't. It was either he was gonna run it or he wasn't gonna run it. But nevertheless, despite that, even with the diminished running back and the rise of dual threat, it doesn't help that basically that usually these days a lot of offenses in CFA, yes, they usually use a run with the dual threat QB. The only legit dual threat QB I can really say that had some success, really, you can say it was Bagel, but Bagel also played a bit of wide receiver too, so he kind of played off and on at QB. So who basically stayed as a dual the QB straight? An answer here would be Lily. And Lily legit was just so good. That pretty much of being a constant dual threat QB, she was really hard to stop. I mean it, in a way. No one could really go ahead and really could have a bit of a game plan that really keyed in on stopping her. While her play while her prime days might be, you can argue say they came and gone, she still remains pretty much an effective QB. Matter of fact, she recently broke the single season rushing record. Now that it's officially started being recorded from season 29 on, breaking her own record from season 30, as she literally had over 900 yards rushing. Nevertheless, running backs are still highly favored in the league. Well, quarterback, dual that quarterbacks are still highly favored, but running backs are just been so remote. They put the stamp on the teams. But in addition to not having really running backs or even dual threat QBs, the league has also became a bit pass happy, as in guys are just trying to become better, be like Jerry Rice or all that stuff. At the once upon a time, one of the best receiver of all time was Galaxy Supernova with the Raptors. And then all of a sudden, it went to Ignatius. But with all due respect to Ignatius, he was an old veteran. King Jelly and LMJ basically were each former wide receivers of the years, as well as Rocky. But soon, eventually, you would end up seeing basically the next wide receiver of the year going basically to people that really put their pride in the receiving game. Hardscoped, Kodak, Block 36, Green Sharky, Ferris, Reaver, Heesh, Tyler, Duran, Lillard. Nevertheless, the best everyone wants to try to go for that wide receiver year, and currently the best wide receiver, the only the person that has had the most wide receiver of the years so far have been Ignatius and Hardscope, each having 3 of their own. In addition to that, quarterbacks have had ridiculously inflated numbers. An example I'm going to say here is that pretty much you can take season 17, for instance, and most specifically Kelvin 5. K5 in that season, in a season where he won quarterback of the year, he went ahead and he pretty much threw 38 touchdowns against 9 picks. Ideally good. This is basically this is from what was recorded from what I was able to find. With the passing offense being enabled, offenses became more pass happy, as we saw basically Calvin pretty much win MVP without really needing him to run that much. But that's just basically that's just Calvin, for instance. When young Raleigh came onto the scene, as a superstar in season 23, his offense pretty much put himself not never running for a touchdown. As a matter of fact, I did every single study carefully, and Rowley really favors passing in the red zone. Not that there's anything wrong with passing in the red zone, but still, it's always nice to go and basically really still getting to the end zone another way if the pass isn't working. So with so many players going ahead and now legit putting their pride in the pass, is there still any players that put their pride in the run outside of Lily or Frankie? Well, to be honest with you, there's not a lot because this league has just grown to the point that we don't really need running backs. We don't really need the run. If you want to be a good player in the league and be successful, it's either you either be a running back, you either QB, you either or you either play DB. And that's where so many people go and play. No one really tends to notice the other positions. Defensive end basically is still high demand, however. And with credit to basically to players that basically do play those positions, they do the best they can. They're trying to basically at least have a plan, have a way to succeed, and all that stuff. As you look basically here, as here, the league basically pretty much favors some good defensive backs. But no one really also puts any time to go forth and play linebacker. And the reason why I'm saying linebacker in the case is that linebacker, it's a high demand position. If you can be a good linebacker in the league, you're basically, you at least know what the hell you're doing. So it's unfortunate basically that running backs aren't really needed in this league anymore, and the league's just becoming more and more pass happy. And with that, do look that QBs make make their rise and fall, but nevertheless, you can't remember. You gotta make sure you gotta remember basically some of the best highlights. As without basically running backs, the league there basically wouldn't be a lot of competition. So to really all running backs basically that do see this, thank you guys for basically going ahead and pretty much making this league competition. And if it weren't for y'all, honestly, the idea of basically of us trying to pretty much show that we are the best at something, at least we can still talk about it this very day. So that's basically my honest take on pretty much on running backs, along with some of the history of basically of running backs in general. I hope you guys basically went ahead and basically did enjoy this episode of the Browns Comparisons podcast. Because I know I do. But first things first, this is pretty much a shout out to anyone that went ahead and suggested this idea. And besides that, thank you guys so much for basically watching. This is pretty much the series, and yeah. Till then, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.